gang, gang. Hey, nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together to the grave. It's a gang till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip in the hate. We the I don't give a fuck in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
We the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey everyone, meteorologist Tuttle. It is about 9:36 here on your Monday. Yeah, it is Monday. I think for a minute. My brain gets fried when I dive into weather data for too long. Thanks for joining me out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, leaving your comments, being interactive, asking your questions, all that kind of stuff. Toward the end of the broadcast, I'll answer as many questions as I can. And thank you very much, by the way, for the stars. I see you on Facebook, and also for the love, all the little hearts and likes, and same thing on YouTube as well. Appreciate you guys being here. So let's move on with the big show. All right, well, quiet out there right now. Now this time tomorrow we should be seeing some light showers and sprinkles kind of bubbling up across the region. So things will be changing here. Now temperatures out there right now, 59 degrees. Man, that's pretty nice for the wintertime. Are you kidding me? And wait till you see what the highs were here today. Holy moly. But first thing I want to show you is a little sneak peek of what tonight's forecast discussion is going to be about. So this is a look at the ice accumulation forecast across the state. And you can see across Oklahoma, this is in millimeters. So we're looking at about a quarter to maybe as much as a half inch of pure ice down here in these brighter yellow areas in southeast Oklahoma. And that extends up east into Arkansas and Missouri and points up north and east from there to Indianapolis. It also stretches back down south into Texas. Look at Dallas-Fort Worth, about a quarter of an inch of ice, all the way down to Stephenville, Belton, Austin, Caryville, and just to the north end of San Antonio. So the forecast overall, the big picture, has not changed. What has changed? The little minor details. We're going to get into that tonight. So thanks for joining me. Make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather. They can get the breakdown of all the science in the world of meteorology on the fly from a meteorologist as we look at the data. So right now, again, for this time of the year, if we could capture this day and replay it, I would be so happy. We're looking at 70s this afternoon for daytime highs. Some 60s still sneaking every now and then, but man, what a great day. Okay, so where is the cold air? Well, things are going to start to go downhill by tomorrow evening because this guy right here is the cold front that's coming in out of Canada and heading its way into our area. It is a fast mover. We call it an Arctic front. So it'll be about 24 hours away. It'll be knocking on the door here of Oklahoma, and then about another 12 hours from there or so, knocking on the door in Texas. It'll be a very fast-moving system once it gets dislodged and comes to the south. How cold is that air? Well, it says minus 8 degrees, and that's in Fahrenheit, so that's some pretty cold stuff. That is a minus 35-degree temperature change out here in this part of Canada. So that is a big cold air mass coming our way. All right, so now let's get on with it, shall we? This is a look at the upper levels of the atmosphere, and we're going to talk about the latest short-term model data. And we'll see what the disturbance looks like once we animate this through time. And we'll see if it's changed any in its track, or if it's look. In other words, if it's more of a closed low or still an open wave as we go through time. So let's go ahead and zip on through. Here's a look at that system out to the west again. This is on Wednesday morning. So by this time, we already have instability and lift that stretches from all the way down here in the Pacific, Baja, Mexico, over into New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, up into Missouri. So the action has already begun. So that's what all this bright color presents, energy and lift in the atmosphere. And this is all thanks to a very elongated trough axis way out here. So that's a good southwest flow, we call that, with an overriding situation when you have cold air at the surface, Arctic air specifically, and that typically spells ice for us. So as we head into time, so here's the midday afternoon, as we head into Wednesday night, you can see the system tries to wrap up a little bit by Thursday morning. Hint of a little bit of an upper low or closed circulation feature. Doesn't quite do it though. There's Thursday midday. So that last batch of energy does come overhead on Thursday. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch, remember, for both Wednesday and Thursday time-wise. And then by the time we head into Friday, Friday morning, the most of the system is still kind of wrapping up out to the west. We're going to have to wait and see what happens here with time as the system comes on board, because it's going to be kind of we're used to a 6-12 hour window. We're not used to a 24-40 hour window. So that's the issue I have with that. The last panel here I had to update because it was cached. So let's do this one. This is the reason why I was like cached it, because I knew that was an old image from the noon model update. But it does try to break off that last piece of energy Friday morning out here to our southwest, whereas it brings the rest of it across. So we'll have to watch. This may bring in some flurries, a very light dusting of snow once it does kick out and move across Texas and parts of Oklahoma for Saturday. So, but that's a nothing burger compared to the main system coming in for tonight. All right, now the question is, we're going to have some drier, we call it dry slot move in. Well, let's take a look at the NAM model. Let's take looking at 500 millibar at the humidity level. And we're going to look for little pockets of dry air that come in by Wednesday morning. So this is right here, 6 a.m. Now, right now, the atmosphere is pretty saturated, 80 to 90%, some areas of the state. But you do see this little thin band here that drops humidities down to 75, 65, 66, 53%. Mid-morning on Wednesday, and that does move in Oklahoma City around the midday hours, dropping our humidity down to 53%. This is at a certain layer of the atmosphere where the ice crystals get going, the snow growth layer, all that kind of stuff. If that were to verify, that tapers down precipitation rates while it's in play. Now, it doesn't last all day. It quickly gets overcome by the process of a lot of lift. And unfortunately, this isn't a unanimous outcome. Other models say that doesn't even happen, and we get better precipitation rates as a result. So the key is, it's a very weak, subtle feature. And if it does materialize, it'll help us a little bit, but it's not an overly strong feature. For example, I will show you what a real dry slot looks like. So we head into Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Look at this stuff right here. Low humidity values of 3%, 2%. Now that's a dry slot. Now that moves over Texas and into southeast Oklahoma midday on Thursday, but we have a little wraparound snow action here with saturated humidity that moves through the state for our last round of snow. But down here, of course, you wouldn't get that with that dry air in place, and that quickly moves out. The dry air dominates, and then we'll have to see, like I said before, this little guy down here, when it eventually kicks through, if there's much left of it, it might produce a little bit of flurry activity probably on Saturday. Okay, so that's a look at the key components and how things can alter the forecast, where otherwise it's a good winter storm. It's just the devil's in the details. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to go into the tomorrow evening time frame, 5 o'clock. So you're starting to see a little bit of shower activity bubble up here across northern Oklahoma. And that does extend into Oklahoma City metro area, probably right around drive time. And then tomorrow evening, it will continue to develop. This is all in advance of the cold front that does start to ooze on into the state by late tomorrow evening. Now, the purple you see is indications that temperatures are going to be below freezing here around Ponca City and, of course, in Kansas at this point in time by midnight tomorrow night. and that colder air will continue to move southward, and as it does, any precipitation that falls behind that cold front will be frozen. And that'll be a mixture of freezing drizzle, some light freezing rain, and possibly a little bit of sleet mixed in. The model's going to get a little too excited on the sleet idea. It's going to try to pick the color it thinks is going to happen, and I'm really thinking it's going to be more freezing rain and freezing drizzle, very, very light, but enough to cause problems on the roadways. All you need is 1/100th of freezing drizzle to just shut an interstate down. So trust me, we're going to have more than that. That's 5 o'clock, here's 6 o'clock, there's 7 o'clock. So the take home is, although it's not widespread heavy, it's light, and that is what's deceiving and misleading. You don't have to have a big, heavy freezing drizzle, heavy freezing rain event to cause problems. A light one will do it when you're dealing with just pure black ice. All right, so you can see by 8 o'clock in the morning, we have another round here that starts to develop by 10 o'clock through central Oklahoma through lunchtime. And then as we head into the afternoon, this is 1 o'clock, watch how this explodes. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You get the idea. And if you will also notice, just like the last couple nights we talked about, this is I-44 corridor from Oklahoma City to Tulsa and then back down to Lawton. And it is in this boundary where the models are having a tough time of what to do with it, as far as keeping it a freezing rain throughout most of Wednesday, and then going to sleet as we head into late afternoon only in the evening hours, and then some snow. Or as it go to sleet earlier toward the middle part of the day, and that saves us from accumulating ice, from getting too heavy on the power lines and trees and all that kind of stuff. And it can go either way, and then we're only Monday. I know, I'd say that. We still need another day of data to fine-tune that fine line. The trend, though, has been to push it back to the south. Earlier it was to pull it back to the north. Now it's to push it back down to the south. Let's keep that trend going, because if it does, that will save the Oklahoma City metro area and Tulsa metro area from a significant ice storm. Fingers crossed, because no one wants that. But that would shove the accumulating ice southward into south central and southeastern Oklahoma. So you're going to get hammered in southeast Oklahoma. It's just, will we get hammered here along the I-44 corridor with ice? And right now, the newest indications are it should stay just south of that boundary. That's what I put in my blog, that most of the data at that time had indicated more of a sleet event versus a freezing rain. So we shall see how that all eventually materializes. Now, if we take a look at tell you what, let's do this. Let's get rid of that. And I want to show you the vertical on this deal. So we'll use the NAM model for Oklahoma City. And I've showed you this before. And I want to give you an idea of what happens if the NAM model is correct and we do have that dry air. So this right here is the mid-levels of the atmosphere below the snow growth layer, where it's very, very dry between Wednesday morning through lunchtime Wednesday. And so this would have to be overcome to get significant precipitation to fall. And again, it'll fall and evaporate in this layer. Now, I'm not necessarily buying this. I think it's too much. And so that kills any measurable precipitation down the ground, other than just some light accumulations. And then it cranks it up as we head into the evening hours here for this big snow. It also thinks it's going to be all snow by this point in time. So the model's having a tough time with the precipitation type and the window of the best and heaviest. That'll again get clearer as we head into tomorrow, but the take home has not changed as far as what we're expecting. It's just on the details of the exact amounts. And as you know me, I tell you, snowfall amounts are very difficult. Even ice amounts can be difficult this far out. You get the ballpark figure, and then you get the ballpark general area, and then from there we just kind of fine tune it. The models come out twice a day as far as the big runs, and now the intermediate sometimes can be helpful. Intermediate runs come out as well. So that's 4 runs a day. We can look at new, fresh data that does come in to see if there's been any changes. Now, as we go onward with time, so I'm going to go a little bit farther in time, and we're going to show you how that ice does expand past that 48-hour window. So let's go to, let's see, there's Wednesday evening. So there's 9 o'clock. So what you will see here is, you see Dallas-Fort Worth here right at the bottom of your screen. So by Wednesday evening, the models are saying that freezing line is knocking right on your door and starting to press through the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which means that is when your ice storm begins. So yes, you guys are going to have the ice all the way up to the Red River. Then again, we'll see how much of this transfers over to sleet between Tulsa, Muskogee, and back out to the south and west. right now. It's a little bit aggressive on that outcome. But what you can see in the red areas where the model does suggest it's just plain old accumulating ice from McAllister down to Dallas through the early morning hours of Thursday. All right, so then that wave moves off. And as we head into Thursday morning, we have that secondary wave that comes in from the west. Now the difference today versus yesterday is that secondary piece of energy, because it's split. Remember I showed you that the model would have had a piece coming through and then one hanging back out toward New Mexico. That hosed us completely as far as significant snow for the second snowmaking round. So what we're going to have to do is depend upon a lot of the snow to kind of come mixed in with the first round, and then we'll get some in the second. So that may temper snowfall amounts a little bit. It's still going to be significant though. So there's the snow for Thursday afternoon, and then that moves on out. Now we'll say this, we're looking at just kind of the NAM model, but the European, which I do favor more, just so you know, in this type of setup, is a little more bullish and doesn't quite split that energy. Unfortunately, the newest run of it won't come out until about midnight or so, and we'll be all off the air by then. So I won't have that data to work with. But the lunchtime data still suggested a pretty good event for totals, etc. And I can show you that here, just to show you kind of a different look. That's how that'll press through. So let's see. So there's our Wednesday morning into the afternoon. Same idea, same take home. It ramps up afternoon into the evening hours for our Wednesday. The fine line I-44 points southward is for the Mescos. So we head into the evening hours for Wednesday. You do see that ice moving into North Texas and then to Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. And then we get that first round out of here for Oklahoma. Then Thursday morning, here comes that secondary round. See, it's got a lot more coverage on the map than the NAM did, so it's got a little bit more on the snowfall total side. But the story is the same. Right now we're just arguing over the minor amounts that would be expected. Again, for posterity reasons, let's just take a look at a couple of the models on their snow output. And your take home will be where the heaviest snow is, not necessarily the exact amount. So we'll look at the American model, for example. And it loves the idea of a ton of snow from eastern Kansas up to Missouri, and then back out to northwest Arkansas, northeast Oklahoma, and then, of course, back out to south and west. And a lot of those amounts, as you can see on the screen, are anywhere from 5 inches to a foot or more. The Canadian model is tampered on that, and I like this outcome better than the American, and I think the American got a little crazy. But same idea, same general area, same general consensus. And then finally the European, let me go to, let me do this. Let me update this one. All right, we'll see what the European does. So same kind of look. It's got, for example, 7 inches of snow in Tulsa and almost 10 inches there in northeast Oklahoma, about 5 inches here around central Oklahoma, and then the heavier amounts about a foot or more out here northeast of Missouri. So you can tell there's not really a whole lot of difference in the overall look from model to model. It's just the differences in the amounts as to if they get carried away or not. Let's see. At least the newest run of the American has settled down a little bit, and actually that was the midday run. So we'll get a look at that here right before I sign off to see if it has changed its snowfall output. One thing I wanted to show you, and let's go back to this guy here. So let's do this for the timing of if you're trying to get some last minute things done. Get out of town, get on a flight, and you're wondering, okay, can I get out Wednesday morning, for example? I've had some people ask about flights leaving Wednesday morning. All right, so this kind of gives you an idea. Remember, all it takes is 1/100th of a glaze of ice, and the roadways are done. They're toast. All right, so we're looking at north and northeast Oklahoma already in that vicinity. At, let's see, what time is this? 5 a.m., 6 a.m. here in Oklahoma City. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, lunchtime. So you can see it's not a whole lot. This is the high resolution short-term model. It's going about 1/10 of an inch to 15 hundredths of pure ice here in Oklahoma City for Wednesday. And then same thing for about Tulsa. And of course, there's going to be pockets of heavier stuff, especially up north and east from there. This is just the very beginning wave of the event on Wednesday. So again, it's not a heavy per se at the start of this, but it's enough to cause problems. And then as you head into the afternoon, that secondary wave that comes in, that's when all this starts to fill in down here with a half an inch of ice or more. And that's where you have massive power outages, and that's when you have a lot of trouble. So could we see some power outages here? Yeah, you could. Now, with this light amount, it's not a whole lot, but we do have winds that are coming in quite strong. So let me show you that as well. And it's the combination of the wind with any load of the ice on power lines and trees that cause the problem. So let's go to Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. All right, so I want to show you here winds gusting up to around 25 to 30 to possibly even 40 miles per hour during the day on Wednesday. Strongest winds will be into northern and northeastern Oklahoma during the day on Wednesday, but they stay strong all day long into Wednesday night. They're still into the 30s. Thursday morning, we still have winds up around 30, 35 gusts to 40 miles per hour. So these are all wind gusts during this time. So any ice accumulation you have will be exacerbated by the winds, which is what helps to cause those power outages during the day on Thursday. So that's why you can still have power outages. You may keep it Wednesday, for example, but then you may lose it Thursday or any point in between, maybe even Friday, because the winds don't quite die down until we head into early Friday morning. They're 6 a.m. They finally diminish to nothing. But it's still pretty windy in the area that sees the most ice by Friday morning. So I do expect some problems. Okay, let's look at the temperatures. So we're looking pretty good. Now tomorrow will not be as nice as today, but still not bad. So in the afternoon we're looking at 50s widespread, maybe some 60s again sneaking in down here in southwest Oklahoma. And then we've got the cooler weather dropping into the 40s and then 30s behind the front Tuesday afternoon into the evening hours. It should be through Oklahoma City metro area, knocking on the door by tomorrow evening around 9 o'clock. Temperatures will continue to fall as we head overnight. So any precipitation that develops and moves into this area of blue is all frozen. And that would be freezing drizzle and some light freezing rain, a little bit of sleet. And we're back into the 20s during the day on Wednesday. So we continue to cool down. Doesn't get any warmer, it only gets colder. And those cold temperatures effect all day long so that we're knocked down into the teens come Thursday morning. We're 18 degrees here in Oklahoma City, 14 in Enid. And then on Thursday itself, because of the snow and the ice and stuff, we should not rebound. We may not even get out of the teens, honestly. The model tries to get us into the low 20s. We'll see about that. And then as we head into Friday morning, obviously very cold with a lot of single digits out there across the state. Some areas already below zero, and that's not even a wind chill. If you want to look at the wind chill values, we'll just fast forward here to Tuesday evening, into the 20s out west, into the Oklahoma City metro area by midnight, and then we're dropping down to wind chill values on Wednesday into the teens. Looks like across majority of the state, exception to the south and east. And then as we head into Wednesday evening, our wind chill values then drop off single digits to below in the purple. So by 6 a.m. on Thursday, we have wind chill values below zero here over central, northern, and western Oklahoma. And in the afternoon, it helps a little bit as the winds start to calm down some. Wind chill values, though, still into the single digits. So the point here, and that leads us to the next graphic of the winter storm impacts. The take home here is that if you are outdoors, stuck in this environment, you're in trouble, right? So if your car breaks down, you slide off a road, you hit a tree, whatever, and the road conditions are treacherous, it may take a long time for somebody to reach you. So the Weather Service has a overall impact for a potential winter storm. We talked about how they would start to throw in some areas of major impacts, maybe with extreme, and they've done that now here in parts of northern Arkansas and in parts of Missouri, points to the east. They have not done that here in Oklahoma just yet. We'll see if the new data indicates anything heavier. If so, I would expect that these categories may go up a bit, but that's enough. The moderate impact itself basically talks about how you're going to have life-threatening situation, obviously, and property damage. It's unavoidable, results in disruptions to daily life. And they have different factors they can look at. So, for example, that's an overall impact. If you look at the ice accumulation, because it favors the half inch of ice accumulation down here in southeast Oklahoma and north Texas, it's going to hit that spot pretty good. It's going to hit the heavy ice accumulation here in northern Arkansas and southern Missouri. for impacts there as far as power outages are concerned. Snow amount is really for a large area here. Let's see, let's go to snow load. That basically means you're going to have a foot or more to deal with out here across parts of Missouri, maybe in northeast Oklahoma. Blowing snow, they have a little bit of pockets of that. They don't have it highlighted significantly right now, and definitely not a ground blizzard. But we shall see with time as new data comes in. Temperatures over the next couple of days obviously are going to start to get on the brutal side. So we'll be in the teens on Thursday. Friday, we will not get above freezing. Saturday, it's a big question mark. It depends. A lot of times the models will be too excited and they'll bump us up above freezing one day too soon. So I think that'll probably be in this case. So that does mean that Sunday should be our first day above freezing, and we could possibly hit 41 degrees on that day. Usually get a quick jump in the rebound after you do a lot of melting. So we got to waste a lot of energy in melting what's out there on Friday and Saturday. Otherwise, good extended outlook after that. So if you do have anything to do outdoors or travel or whatever, I suggest you put it off for the weekend and just don't get out there on the roadways Thursday and Friday unless you absolutely have to. Let's see. What else do I want to show you or talk to you about? Let me look at the icon model. This is the German model. It wasn't in yet when I went live. So let me see if it's continued its track for the snow amounts right along the I-44 corridor and points north and east for the heaviest, and it does. About 4 to 5 inches it likes still over central Oklahoma, and heavier amounts from Tulsa northeast from there, and still a foot up here in Missouri, again eastern Kansas. So this actually model has been pretty conservative after I think it was Sunday, because on Sunday it had 12 to 18 inches of snow all across Oklahoma. So it went nuts when it first came out, but then it calmed down pretty quick, and it's been pretty consistent. And this is a pretty decent snowfall map. I know we're early in the game here for final totals, but that's not a bad look at what you can expect. It doesn't do ice totals, but at least it will give us the idea on the snow. All right, and then what else did I want to show you? There was one other thing. Oh yeah, let me do this. So we'll go here. All right, so if you go to my website, aarontuttle.com, and you click on the Weather Data tab, you come down here and you'll see Oklahoma power outages. You're going to want to use that to see how things are progressing. And then you're going to see Oklahoma road conditions. So if you want to go out and need to go out, you're going to want to use that to find out how bad the roads are. It has little cameras you can click on for both video and still pictures to see how it actually looks. And then, of course, it'll tell you if the roads are closed or whatnot. And then if you want to see when does precipitation start to fall that is actually frozen in nature, you can hit this ping real-time weather reports, and as soon as a flake happens or a freezing drizzle, it'll pop up on the map and you can say, yep, it's starting. Now conversely, you can also use my free weather app. It's called AT's Weather to Go. You can track the radar on there. It'll show you the precipitation type, show you the temperatures, give you your forecast no matter where you are. So you can use that, plus it'll update the watches and warnings from the National Weather Service and the advisories, so you'll know if you're going to be in a winter storm warning or an ice storm warning, because expect a couple of those categories. The difference will be in the details that'll be in that warning criteria, such as, of course, the ice would be for significant ice accumulation to cause power outages. A winter storm warning can be kind of a mixed bag, heavy snow, some ice or sleet. So each one of these will have specific wording associated with them, which you can get on my weather app as well. All right, I think for now, let me check to see if the American model is starting to come in yet, and then I'll go look at a couple of your questions, and then we'll go from there. So let's see. All right, it has come in. Good. So let's see what it does with the upper level look to it. All right, system comes in like all the other ones say, and that big piece comes in for Friday. Now, it does not break it out for a piece here and then a piece dropping back to the southwest. It's going to keep it progressive with a little baby low right here. So that should actually boost amounts for us. Let's see what it does. Let me go look at the vertical velocity first for timing of the deal. And let me zoom in. So this particular color you see here helps to time out when event will start and end, for example, because it's all the lower level lift in the atmosphere. So there's Tuesday afternoon, so that's where we got the rainfall is developing, and that lift continues through the evening, overnight to Wednesday morning. Now you can see how it tapers off here for midday Wednesday. So that's what I'm saying. The first round on Wednesday doesn't look to be all that heavy, but it's enough. So don't let your guard down. And then as we head into the afternoon hours, there's that big heavy round of lift that moves in from North Texas to southern to eastern Oklahoma. Kind of grazes Oklahoma City metro area. It doesn't really come in full bore here. I mean, it's going nuts east and south of us. So that would help to limit amounts a little bit on Wednesday. All right, and then we have, let's go to, there's Thursday morning. So there's that new piece of energy coming in out to the west. So that starts the next round during during Thursday of the snow that moves in. It does have some pretty significant lift moving into central Oklahoma during the late afternoon hours on Thursday. There's Thursday night, and there's Friday morning, and that has moved out, and that's it. So we'll see what the newest snow and ice accumulations are in relation to that. Okay, so it won't pick up the very light icing here from the drizzle, so ignore the fact that it doesn't have anything here. That'll be an error. But down here in southeast Oklahoma, it still continues with a half inch or more of ice, and that extends down to Dallas-Fort Worth, where it's got a half inch of ice. There's a spot there in North Texas, just north of Rockwall, around 3/4 of an inch. So that's, again, horrific output. And that ice continues all the way down to Bryan College Station, Austin, and San Antonio. So big ice storm here for Texas, and then really massive ice storm for, looks like Arkansas, then east from there. And the look hasn't changed with the American model as far as the placement of the heaviest stuff is concerned, so that it continues to hold its own. Let's take a look at what it did with the snow, with that little change in the jet stream pattern versus the other models. Okay, so let me see if it's right on Wednesday. All right, so Wednesday afternoon, it produces the snow for us. Now, if it's mostly sleet, we have to subtract an inch or so off of this snowfall amount, but let's go with time anyway and see what it eventually ends up with. During the day on Thursday, we get several inches that moves through into Thursday night. So because of that track difference, and this is huge, that's why I'm saying that jet stream pattern we showed you with that teeny tiny little upper low piece, instead of coming out sheared and back out, that changes everything when it comes to snow total. So this, because it kept that new look, which the other models don't quite have yet, every model has a slightly different look. This particular look, because of that, cranks up the snow. So we've got almost 10 inches of snow back here in central Oklahoma. Now, I don't think that'll verify. I still like the idea of 5, maybe 6 inches of snow here in central Oklahoma. So that's been my forecast so far for the last couple of days, and I'm going to keep it with that. But I want to show you at least what that model had to say. All right. I know that was a lot to talk about. Thank you guys for hanging in there. It was, hope it was educational. What I'm going to do is do a really quick recap right now, just verbally, for those folks that were late, and then I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and then we'll go from there. So let me load the chat stuff up. Scorpio, I see on YouTube, by the way. Appreciate the gift. Okay, so here's your bottom line. Just Stone Cold said so. Stuff you see, man. All right, you know what? I got stuff I would rather fill brain cells with, but no, that fills up a brain cell. What a total waste. Anyway, all right, so back where I was going with this. If you have plans Wednesday morning, daybreak, we do expect the cold fronts have already arrived. So you do expect to have freezing drizzle going on for central, northern, northeastern Oklahoma. This includes Oklahoma City Metro and Tulsa. So if you're heading out, you're already going to have problems, just so you know. If you do have to head out, make sure you've got your car loaded with food, supplies, water, blankets, thermal, charged phones, electronic devices, because if it's a wreck mania, there's only so many wrecking trucks, right? And so you're in a long line to wait. Okay, so that out of the way, that kind of atmosphere continues during the day on Wednesday. Very light, but enough to continue with the problems. You'll eventually get some sleet mixed in. It's mostly a very light freezing rain and freezing drizzle event through mid-afternoon. All right, then we should start to have a lot more sleet mixed in for the mid-afternoon to the evening hours. At some point, it'll transition over to snow. Earlier model data had about midnight. Some are trying to trend it back closer, say, at least by 9 p.m. Now, the quicker it transitions, and some even had 6 p.m. So the quicker that transitions, the less we get of sleet, and the more we get of snow, which is good if you want snow, right? You can't really do anything with sleet, so let's just go for snow. But the point being is that winter mix across the I-44 corridor for Wednesday, and the amounts are heavier in the late afternoon and evening hours. Then we get the next, as that tapers off and snow wraps around the backside, that tapers off Wednesday night, and then we get a new round that comes in Thursday morning, and that moves during the across the state on Thursday in the form of all snow. So that's good news for that. Now, every model has a different output on that, but the broad consensus, summary, if you will, to blend them all together, 5 to maybe 6 inches of snow here in central Oklahoma, higher amounts north and east you go across the state. So yeah, Tulsa could probably get maybe 7, for example. It's just a ballpark figure here. But that's how that looks. And then the system's over with for Friday. Only thing I could see is we may have to adjust the time window for some flurries if pieces of energy are still kind of hanging back west. But most of the moisture associated with this event will be gone, be scoured out. So anything that comes in after that for Friday or Saturday is going to be minuscule compared to our big bang, which is Wednesday and Thursday. All right, so that takes care of Oklahoma. Again, all snow north of the state. Into Kansas, Missouri, you got a mixed bag. Ice southeast, snow northwest. Arkansas, you get a mixed bag, both ice and snow. And then what you get in the south into Texas. So Wednesday evening, expect freezing rain, and looks like you guys get probably about a quarter or more, maybe even a half inch of ice down there. Now, if that would actually materialize, we're talking freezing rain. And if that happens, remember, freezing rain is that actual coating of ice that causes power line issues and trees down. It would be catastrophic, all right? That's from the whole North Texas area. That icing continues all the way down south into Austin, San Antonio for Thursday. Now, here's the saving grace of that. And this is what you're going to hope for. You're going to hope in the model data that the Arctic air is typically shallow, right? The leading edge of it, extremely shallow. So the more close you are leading edge, it's going to always be freezing rain. As you go north, deeper and deeper and deeper into that Arctic air mass, if it can be deep enough, you can transition over to sleet. So, for example, North Texas, right now the models are really favoring freezing rain. If they're off by just a couple hundred feet, and let me show you what I mean by that, you can go quickly over to sleet. So let's do this. So this is a look at the NAM model. This is a forecast. I want to show you what I mean. So if we look at the sounding profile in the atmosphere. Now, this right here, this readout down here at the bottom, see this right here? This little dink is the Arctic air. Now, this is up to 1,000 feet. So if I put the little active cursor right out here, it's about 1,000 feet deep. Now, this is when it's first moving in to Oklahoma City Metro. This is midnight. As I go through time, watch that layer expand and get deeper. Right? So there's pretty shallow. It's only 1,000 foot deep. By the time we head into, let's go 6 a.m. There we go, 6 a.m. This layer has now gotten deeper because it's moving southward, right? So we're getting more into the meat of it. We're now at 2,700 feet. So what's the difference? At 2,700 feet, it depends on the temperatures on both sides. So on the coldest side and on the warmest side, you start to transition over to sleet. All right, so let me go another time frame here. So let's go, how deep do we get? We stay about there. All right, so we get about 20, there's 28, 20, maybe 29, nope, 2,800 feet, 2,700 feet. All right, so here for Oklahoma City, the model changes us over to sleet because it's saying, all right, this depth is deep enough. Now, if you live in Dallas, for example, maybe you're only here, all right? And if that's the case, then you'd be down around 1,800 feet thick as far as that Arctic air mass. Well, that's not thick enough to give you sleet. You're going to have to deal with freezing rain. So this is how this profile can change. I did not load Dallas on here, but that is what we're talking about. Maybe, I'll tell you what. Let's just go take a look. Why not? Right? I mean, I'm giving you a hypothetical. I'm just going to see what the actual data looks like. So we're going to load this up. Ooh, what happened? I got a nasty message. Okay. Let's see if that loaded. Okay, so that did load. All right, so let's clear that off the screen. And let's go here. Let's see how deep you are down there in Dallas. Okay, so there's Wednesday afternoon. We're going to go to 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That Arctic air is pressing through. You're at the freezing point by 6 p.m. Wednesday, according to the NAM model. And you are 2,000 feet deep, thick, okay? All right, so at this point in time, you're going to get freezing rain. So what is it going to do? That's ridiculous. I don't know, that's some bad data input that came in there. Yeah, that's really bad data. All right, there it finally kind of woke up a little bit there. Yeah, because it's going back and forth between rain, snow, and freezing rain, which is impossible. So I don't know what it's doing in the data. But the sounding forecast is showing only 1,300. All right, now remember in Oklahoma City, we were about 2,700. That's what it took for us to transition over to sleet. With this, you'll never transition over to sleet. So let me see when you finally do. Okay, so there's 5 a.m. Thursday, and there's 6 a.m. Thursday, and you are at 2,300 feet. Now that is probably going to do it because you're not too warm over here at about 3 to 4,000. You're only 2 degrees Celsius. So that should be thick enough to then get that freezing rain to go back to sleet. So in this case, then for Dallas, most of your freezing rain would happen between 6 p.m. Wednesday and 6 a.m. Thursday. Then that atmosphere, then the cold air thickens enough to where you're going to get sleet after that. All right. And then it's just all thick enough from that point forward. Let's see what it does for you for amounts. I'm going to have to include this guy. Ooh. Yeah, you don't want that. Well, you don't want that at all. It's like half an inch of pure ice down there from this model. So, yeah, that would be a bad situation for Dallas. So there you go. That's what's happening down there in Big D. Bad news for you, unless things improve in the newer data that comes in eventually. Let's see. All right. I believe. Oh, is my program going to crash on me? I don't know. I lost an error connection to a live view deal. I think it was Twitter. I think Twitter crashed on me. Yeah, and so because of that, it may freak my program out. I'm gonna hit OK. If I disappear, that's what happened. But hang on. If I don't disappear, we'll answer some questions. I'm always leery to press the button, but I can't change the screen until I do. So fingers crossed, right? Oh, come on. Good. I think I'm still up. All right, so let's go. Sorry about that, Twitter, but I don't know. Twitter bailed. All right, let's see what happens here. Let's go to YouTube. I'll go through skim through the last few comments. Brandon. Nothing has been mentioned about thunder, freezing rain, sleet, snow. Is it a possibility? So yes, it is a possibility. We have a lot of omega or lift in the atmosphere. So for the thunder, you could get that with the sleet. That's usually like a big deal for that. Thunder snow, we don't have this set up for thunder snow on this event, but we do have this set up for possibly some thunder sleet or thunder freezing rain, especially in southeast Oklahoma. Let's see. But good question, though. Yeah, Jim says, don't forget to fill up with gas. That's for sure. I'm sure a lot of you probably raided the stores today. So whoever didn't can go and raid them tomorrow. Finish cleaning them out, whatever's left. Remember, you're not trapped for a whole week. You're only going to be at home for, at worst case, a couple days. And then you're going to start to slowly come out of the shadows. All right, let me go to Facebook here and scroll through. Very serious question. Is it safe for me to fly to Indianapolis, Indiana on Friday through the weekend and come back to Oklahoma City or Dallas Monday? That is a very serious question. And your definition of safe and my definition of safe are two different things. But I could tell you, I don't know when you're leaving. It says here on Friday. So I'm assuming they can get flights out on Friday, may be delayed. So prepare to spend some extra time at the airport. And then whenever you do, you'll be flying into the same mess you're leaving. So they will then have to have plenty of de-icers. They will have to have the runways cleared off. So good luck with all that. I wouldn't want to do it, but to each their own. That'd be a mess, but I'm sure it can get done. You just may not like the outcome. No, I don't do schools here. I would assume, this is a big assumption, that in today's modern era of texting systems, that you can sign up for your school to get texts whenever they do close. If your school doesn't have that, tell them it's 2022. Also, you can tune in to the early morning shows. Back when I worked at Channel 5, we would crawl the school closings in the morning hours. They would come in off the feed, and they would run all day long. So you can always do that. Let's see. Keep going. Jay, I hope not the blue screen of death. Jared, I gave you the Dallas time. It was Wednesday evening. Probably about rush hour. Sounds about right. Janet, sorry, you're going to get it down there in Dallas, Fort Worth. You'll probably maybe get a little bit of snow, by the way, down there after you get the ice, but it won't be much. Let's see here. What will the conversion be? Will it amount to much moisture? Yes. So let me show you that. I didn't show that earlier. And why am I showing you this? Oh, no. I forgot to press my other button. I got too many buttons to press. You're watching my live YouTube feed in reverse. I'm sure that was confusing. All right, let me go to this map here. So my apologies. Okay, so this black line is the average of the ensemble runs here for Oklahoma City, for example. And you can see this is on the 1 inch of QPF. All right, so that's 1 inch of precipitation that we're going to get. Now this 1 inch is divided into freezing drizzle, light freezing rain, sleet, and then snow. So you have to, all that will total 1 inch of QPF. So how do you get that? Well, you have a couple of tenths of freezing rain, okay? And then let's say you have 3/10 of sleet. All right, there's 5/10 right there, gone in the form of some ice and slippery stuff. Then the latter half of that, the second half, you have another 1/2 inch to work with, right? What's that going to be in the form of? Snow. And at a 10-to-1 ratio, to make it simple, that's 5 inches of snow. So on a mean average here in Oklahoma City, you're looking at 1 inch QPF, which looks like could easily be 5 inches of snow, in addition to 5/10 of a mixture of freezing rain and sleet, with probably more focus on the sleet. But that's how that would break down. All right, let me see here. Good question, though. And by the way, thanks again for the stars coming up tonight. I can only scroll through so far on Facebook, so if you did have some questions for me, unfortunately, you'd have to send them again. Will warmer initial ground temps affect the ice and snow accumulations? Initially, yeah, it'll be a factor. Unfortunately, it'll only be a factor for a few hours, and it won't affect anything. When that freezing drizzle comes down the roadways, and with the Arctic air in place, it's going to be gross. I will tell you this, though. There is, theoretically, let me do something. Because this can be tricky. This can be really tricky. Oh, that was coming up with another song in my head when I said it's tricky. Tricky. Oh my gosh. All right, let me see here. Okay. Do this. All right, that's the HRR. I'll look at some here on the fly with a dew point of 29. Okay, now let me look at, oh, you know what, let me do that again and then switch here. This will tell me what I want to know. Let's see, what is it going to show me? 29 over 24. Oh, huge difference. Okay, so the high resolution NAM model, which is usually the best for Arctic air tracking and dew points in an event in the system for Wednesday morning, has a temperature of 29 and a dew point of 24. So usually what that means of the heavy precipitation, that dew point would come up and the temperature would come down. So it'd meet in the middle, we call it the wet bulb temperature. So in this particular case, it would probably be around 27 degrees Fahrenheit. 27 is a magic number when it comes to ice on the roadways during the daytime to help offset solar insolation and to help offset any warm ground temperatures. So once you get into the 20s, especially right around that sweet spot, 27 to 28, all bets are off. Now, in the very early morning hours before the sun comes up, you can be right at 31 or 32, especially bridges and overpasses, and then you got a problem. All right, so it's as the day goes on, the morning goes on, because even though it's still cold outside, the solar radiation does help to a degree. But if we can get those temperatures too cold, the Arctic air deepens and keeps temperatures keep going down, then it won't matter. So the NAM is saying it ain't gonna matter. So that was a good question, but that made me think of this, which I did not address in the prior discussion points, because there was so much to talk about. And then during the, let's see, up through lunchtime, it's going to hold us 29 over 23. So again, right around 27 degrees, maybe 26. So yeah, the roads will definitely suffer. Okay, so that was a good question. All right, let me think here. By the way, if anyone needs anything, I'm going to give you Jody's cell phone number, because she claims, since she is Canadian, that she can handle anything that we have down here on the roadways. So she will be your personal shopper. She will bebop across the ice and snow, no problem. So I told her, no way, our ice is more slippery than it is in Canada. So what type of snow, Shannon wants to know? Fat flakes or dry blowy? We'll get some fat flakes. How about that? Yeah, I know, Cheryl, down there in Dallas, it does not look pretty. But a lot of the times in these patterns, these setups, I'll tell you this. So let me explain this to you. Let's go back here. All right, let me do this. And then let's do this. And I'll show you the difference of what I'm talking about. All right, so for example, we're starting off this map here with a closed upper level low right here in South Texas. Okay, and then it's going to move to the east. We typically, when we're dealing with an ice storm here for Oklahoma, we will get a closed low that drops down, something like this, and then kind of comes overhead like this, okay? It's that closed low, as it gets closer to us, that causes warm air to override and feed in to give us that ice. But it's also what causes too much warm air to come into Dallas and the rest of Texas, and so that you guys don't get what we get in Oklahoma. So this is a standard, I'll do a trail here, it's like the low comes in here and here and here, and then it does a little this or whatever. So if it's a closed low, that's the outcome. All right, but now I'm going to show you what we actually have. Go through time. So this is what we actually have. You see, there's no closed low. It's the line. See that line? So it's a long, broad area of lift. Now it does try to do a low right here over New Mexico. So that's the change. It does try to do a low, but it's too little too late. By this time, we're Thursday morning. So by then, the Arctic air has already gone all the way down into Texas, and everything's cooled down. But what happens is a lot of times, if you can get this to stay at closed low for its whole trek, then you guys get saved from an ice storm, and then we get the ice storm. But since it didn't happen that way, you guys get the ice storm, and we get a little taste here in the central Oklahoma region, but the majority of it's going to be in southeast Oklahoma. So that's the difference in the overall look of a jet stream pattern of what your outcome is going to be. So there you go. All right. And if you notice, I'm just going through time. It's very fluid. So think of a jet stream as like a river of water, and you have little eddies in the water. Same idea. It's just up in the air, in the atmosphere. But you see all those little rounds of energy and spins that just kind of zip through the country. Any one of those can generate some precipitation, and as long as you got cold air in place, it can generate some wintry precipitation. You have to have it just right to obviously get an ice setup like we have now. It's a classic setup, but a lot of times this produces little snowmakers. I guess you could call them clippers. In other parts of the country they do. We don't really call them clippers down here, but that's usually what they are. They're little teeny tiny little snowmakers that just zip on by at a fast rate of speed, produce a quick dust of snow, and they're gone. But point being is, this is an active jet stream pattern for February, so a lot can change, and our weather here in Oklahoma can go from like it was today to all of a sudden we're talking about another winter event in just a couple of days. But that's what makes it fun, interesting to forecast. Let's see. Janice, you're welcome. Eddie, DFW will be crazy. And I will tell you this. So obviously there's a lot of weather people out there and a lot of meteorologists. And everyone has their own different style on forecasting and communication and presenting the weather. So what you will notice, there's a trend. It's an interesting conundrum. And I'm not sure the best way, but this is what I notice out there. So you'll have somebody like me. I'll tell you last Wednesday, hey, I recognize a classic pattern when I see it. Expect to hear some chatter. We're probably going to have a winter storm here, and it looks like it's going to have some ice, right? So that was on Wednesday of last week. And then we did it again on Thursday, and I said, yep, looking that way. I said, get ready. Okay, so, and it's just to give you a heads up. It's not a hype thing. It's none of that. I gave you all the science, the data behind it, and we looked at it and told you why that was all going to happen. Now, I will give you this. There are a lot of meteorologists that... Vince McMahon said it best, and he called it testicular fortitude. So there's not a lot with that classic category of a description. So they will wait forever and a day before they tell you, finally give you a forecast, right? Like even yesterday, I heard a lot of, well, it's too early. It ain't too early. So, like, what are you waiting on? So a lot of times, like a TV guys specifically, they will wait for the National Weather Service to do something, and then all of a sudden they'll go Armageddon. All right. So in other TV markets like Oklahoma City, sometimes that's not the case. They'll go Armageddon 2 weeks away. That's what I'm saying. It's a weird place to be. Other markets like Dallas, though, they will go extremely conservative, and they will wait to the very last minute to let you know. Well, that to me, that doesn't do you any good. It's a disservice. But they lack that certain element to just put their neck out there and go, you know what? The data's the data. This is what it says. My experience says this. History says this. It's going to happen. And then that tells everybody early to start preparing and planning. And that goes everything from emergency, management personnel to mom and pop. Got to feed their family, right? So the earlier the better. Now, The details you can work out later. You know, like in other words, it's going to be mostly ice. It's going to be a mixture of ice and sleet. Where's the fine line? Is it, you know, for example, is it Fort Worth only, or then is it Dallas later? You know, you can do all that a little bit later, but you at least have to tell them what's coming. Otherwise, you do a disservice. Now, like last night, I think it was, or was it noontime today? I think it was noontime today. The Weather Service here in Oklahoma City, for example, and in Tulsa, or was it just Oklahoma City? I can't remember. But they had the word possible winter storm. And I'm like, well, it's not possible, you know. And then they had the word potential. And it's like, no, it's not potential either. So they can be very conservative, and it's not a knock on them. They have to follow certain rules, right, procedures internally. So, but the message can get kind of muted when you use certain words to classify a system. So if you say potential or possible, now do you as a viewer, or reader, whatever of information, you look at that and go, oh, okay, well, it's not a big deal, I won't worry about it. Versus major ice storm coming, major winter storm coming, which causes a call to action. So that's kind of when I'm looking out in the weather spectrum, I see a lot of mixed signals because of hesitancy on, do they believe the data, and are they ready to put their neck out in the line? And what I'm finding is, in this industry, a lot of them are afraid to put their neck out in the line all the way until it's like, duh, it's in their face. So what do? It's tough. I will give you that. As a meteorologist, though, you got to do it. Now, the key is to put in a lot of work and effort so you can give the best possible forecast you can do. Put your neck out in line and see what happens, right? Now, the idea is to be good at what you do so that you don't get it wrong a lot, or you're going to be called Chicken Little. And if that's where you find yourself, then you should probably find another job. But yeah, do it, and then let the chips fall where they may. So there's a forecaster here in Oklahoma City. He's notorious. I mean, he'll put his neck out on all the time, and he busts every now and then, but it doesn't stop him. He still does it, and you guys still watch and all that kind of stuff, and you still listen to what he says. So it goes to show you that even if you do bust a few times, it's not the end of your career or the world. But if you wait to the very last minute to tell people to take shelter or cover or prepare or plan, that doesn't really do anybody any good. So I see a lot of that out there in the space, and I don't have an answer for you as to which way you should do it. Because what I do is I look at the data every day, all the time, and I walk you through it, and I say, this is what I think is going to happen. And then we'll track it, and knock on wood, most of the time I'm correct. If I wasn't, I would give up what I do. So do something else. Yeah, it's not really necessarily hard. It's just a competence factor of you as an individual. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, a lot of times the general community will wait for the local weather service offices to get on board. Then everybody else gets on board. So if you see all of a sudden a huge push, like something changed overnight, that's usually the catalyst for that to happen. And then you'll hear rumblings or rumors, prior to that from a few individuals, and then you'll start asking other individuals, so-and-so saying this, or what are you guys saying, or how come you're not doing it? You got a lot of that. And with social media, of course, that's probably everywhere. Now, I don't have the time to follow anyone or do anything because I got to do my own stuff. So I have no idea what's out there. I don't know who says what. So I'm just talking about in specifics, or not specifics, but in general terms, as usually how that space works when you're talking about big events like winter storms, and why you may hear it to last minute versus maybe why you might hear it early in the event stage of planning. And then you can have the problem where, and this you can get into this. This is where you have people that really are horrible at their job that will hype an event for days on end, and then the event doesn't even happen. Of course, now that puts a disservice to the whole community as a whole, and those people, are poo-pooed upon because that runs it for the rest of us. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. You can't do anything about it. Although I say that this is 2022, we can now censor anyone we don't want to hear from, so maybe we should just censor everyone. I'm just kidding, don't do that. But that's an example of how you can get different forecasts, and maybe somebody's waiting a little late to tell you what's happening when other people aren't, or are rather. And that way, it's a kind of a mixed message on situations like this. So I know in Dallas, it's interesting because you guys don't get a lot of action down there for winter storms. So I can understand guys being leery to say something. But honestly, you just got to be honest with the viewers. Be honest with your customers, your clients, your followers. You know, show the data, walk them through it, and then that is what it is. All right, so that was a little side track, just to kind of tell you some of the behind the scenes thought processes that happen in the weather industry when we come to big events like this. Let's see. So Cecilia wants to know, when is the rain going to start tomorrow? It won't be until late afternoon. So, and it'll be in northern Oklahoma first, and it'll kind of work its way southward with the front. So here in Oklahoma City, I think the earliest was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I have to go back and look. I've looked at so much stuff, my head's spinning. Let me go see. Hold on. Which one do I want? Oh, where was I? That's not what I wanted. I got too many things. Oh, that's what I wanted. All right, where was it? Right there. Okay, so there's 4 o'clock, northern Oklahoma, basically just north of Stillwater, according to this data, and then it doesn't backbuild in Oklahoma City until about 6 to 7. Very light stuff, by the way. So if you have anything to do outdoors that requires dry weather, you should be good for the bulk of the day. It's not until late afternoon and evening. I'll check the NAM high resolution to see if it differs in the timing. It should be roughly about the same. So it's roughly the same. A little different look on the placement, but it says 3 o'clock. Looks like some activity here along the I-40 corridor to the north, northwest Oklahoma. There's 4 o'clock here, moving in toward the metro area. There's 5 o'clock on the west side of town. So, you know, it's going to be late afternoon, early evening just for these light showers and sprinkles to develop. And then they kind of keep going Tuesday evening as the cold air continues to kind of work on in. And there's all that mixed bag of freezing rain, sleet, and snow that develops. They're in the multicolors in northern Oklahoma overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So here's 3 o'clock in the morning, for example, and the model already has an output here of some wintry precipitation in Canadian County. So it kind of goes to show you that the freezing line is here. It's 32 degrees, dew point of 30. So that's what I was saying. At any point in time, it's fair game for some travel problems when you get up and you try to head out the door on Wednesday morning. And that just kind of continues, very light stuff, but it continues throughout the morning for light glazing of ice on the roadways. And the next big round comes in for the middle afternoon, and then just kind of continues to expand and gets heavier and heavier, and moves into southern and southeastern Oklahoma, and lots of ice down there, and some snow here in central Oklahoma with some sleet late day. Then that moves on out. And then Thursday, we get more that comes in from the west. So it's kind of a 2-part system there. But there you go. All right, what time is it? It's 10:42. I think it's about time to wrap this up. I'll do it live tomorrow at about 11. Try for about 11:45. I'll probably go a few minutes early. It just depends on if I can get everything set up. It'll be a short one. Usually it lasts about 10-15 minutes. And I'll give you a really quick summary at that point in time. We'll see if the data suggests anything different than what it did today and yesterday. But you already know what the big picture is, so now you just got to prepare and plan. And like tomorrow, for example, I'll go get my generator and make sure it starts, charge the battery, make sure it's got gas in it. That way, if I need it, I have it. I haven't had to use it yet, which is good. But at some point, probably going to have to use it. Also, I better make sure it works rather than collecting dust. All right, you guys have a great night. Be safe out there, and check in with me tomorrow, both for the lunchtime update and then tomorrow evening again around 9:30. And thanks again for your support. I appreciate that. All right, we'll see you soon.